So we are moving to the next part of the macroeconomics topics, that is national income. Now, when you see this word national income, the first thing that needs to come to your mind is uh, the country's income. Okay, national income simply means the country's total income. uh, when you were talking about microeconomics, in microeconomics we had studied an individual's income. However, since we are studying macroeconomics and national income is a part of macroeconomics, we'll study that the entire nation's income is called as national income. Now there are various economists, there are various authors who have given different definitions. So it all depends upon student to student which definition you all find is simpler, and according to that you all can use any definition. Right now we'll move on to the meaning. So it means the total income of the nation. The aggregate economic performance of the whole economy is measured by the national data. So Indian Statistical Organization measures the national income. So it is the total income of the nations. uh, the aggregate economic performance, the aggregate economic performance as in how the entire nation is performing. Okay, and it is measured by the nation's data. Okay, now, I told you that different authors have given different definitions. It is all upon you which definition you want to select. So, one of the definitions given by Professor Fisher is uh, national income means services enjoyed by ultimate consumers with the help of their physical or human resources. This definition has a lot of meaning, and that's why you see that I have used it. Now, what does this Professor Fisher means to say by this definition? He simply means that um, all the total output in terms of product and services that a nation is manufacturing comes under the umbrella of national income. Point number one. Point number two, how are these products and services manufactured? So they do not fall directly from the sky, right? You require factors of production to produce these products and services. So that's what he's saying, with the help of physical and human resources. So physical and human resources together producing products and services, and these total products and services are nothing but national income. Okay, so this is a beautiful definition given by Professor Fisher, which you can learn. Let's move on to what are the importance of national income. Now, national income has so many importances that you see on your screen. The first one is it is the mirror of the economy. Very simple statement. It tells you how the economy is performing based on what you see as a number of national income. You can make a judgment that whether the economy is performing well or no. Usually we consider the historical data also when we are making judgments about the performance of the economy, okay, or of the country. So it is a mirror of the economy. Second, understanding the level of living, like how Fisher said that it is the total output and total product and services. So higher the product and services that a country enjoys, higher would be the standard of living of those people in that economy. Okay, knowing trends of economic activity with the help of national income, you can make out that how the country is performing in terms of economic activities, like whether there is production happening or no, how are the employment levels and all that. So all these you can make out with the help of national income. Helping in framing economic policies. So national income will help the government to understand whether they require to formulate any more further policies, whether it is fiscal policies or monetary policies or not. Next is GNP, index of economy's performance. Okay, so GNP is nothing but the gross national product. What is it? We will see it in the further slides. I've prepared that for you. So it is the index of economic performance. I told you with the help of national income, you can make judgments as to how the country's performance is. Okay. Second is it is an indicator of economic welfare. Indicator of economic welfare means whether the country is progressing or no. What is the growth rate of the country? How the country has been progressing? You can make out these things from the national income. Focus on importance of various sectors. Does any sector require more attention, whether it is agriculture sector, whether it is tertiary, primary sector, tertiary sector, secondary sector? Any of these sectors require additional assistance from the government or no? Provide information about consumption, savings and investments. Now these three components are very important components which will tell you how the economic performance of the country is. How is the consumption level, whether people are sufficiently consuming or no, whether they are saving or no, or whether there is investment or no. Imagine a country where there is no saving. If there is going to be no saving, there is going to be no investment. Like in my previous recordings, I had already mentioned that savings and investments go hand in hand. The more you save, the more investments can happen. Okay, helpful in formulating economic policies again, and useful in research. National income can also be used to do research. Okay, how can we improvise the nation's income further? So this was about the importance of national income. Let's move on to the next part, which is gross domestic product. Now GDP, it is also called as GDP. Now you must be familiar with this word already. If not, let's look at it. It is the market value of all goods and services produced in a domestic territory of a country during an accounting year. Whatever final output is there, whatever final services are there which are produced within India. Okay, within India. Now within a domestic territory is a very important statement here. So within India, whatever final output, final goods and services are there, that would be counted as the gross domestic product, GDP. Now this word gross is very important. Okay, gross means it includes depreciation. All right, if you minus a depreciation from it, then it becomes NDP, that is net domestic product. So NDP is net domestic product. It is the final it is the total value of all goods and services produced in an economy during an accounting year, but it excludes depreciation. That's NDP. Okay, moving on to the next definition that you all need to know is about GNP. Now GDP and GNP is different. There's not only difference of D and N, but it has further to say. Now GNP is the market value of all output of final goods and services produced in a year plus net income from abroad. Okay, that is EXIM. It is exports minus imports. Okay, so when you add all the final goods and services produced in a domestic country plus whatever you're getting from abroad, that is net income from abroad, that all income together will become the GNP. So what is the difference between GDP and GNP? GDP was only considering the domestic territory, whereas GNP is considering the net income from abroad also, right? So next definition is about per capita income. What is per capita income? So it is the income or average income earned by per person in a given area in a specified year. So if I have to calculate that in India, how much is per person generating income, then I can do that with the help of per capita income. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So per capita income, I'll just quickly tell you, you can also use the formula, that is real income divided by the total population. So it includes inflation also. Real national income is nothing but when you consider the inflation rate also, and you are considering the national income, and you divide it with the total population, you get to understand that how much per person is generating income in the economy. That's per capita income. Okay, personal income is nothing but national income minus corporate income tax minus undistributed corporate profits minus social security contributions minus transfer payments. Now what is basically personal income? It is that income which is actually received by individuals or households of a country during a year from all sources. Okay, so whichever sources a person is generating income would be called as his personal income. What is transfer payments? Transfer payments is nothing but it is a kind of payment which the government gives as a help, okay, like unemployment allowance if the government is doing, that's transfer payment. Majorly you can say that for any for any non-productive, or you can say unproductive, any unproductive work you do, or you do not add to any of the production activities of the country, but you are getting an income, muft, you can say muft ka paisa, it's like free money you're getting, that would be called as transfer payments, okay. So this is about transfer payments. Next is disposable income. Now, what's disposable income? Disposable income is nothing but when you deduct, okay, tax from your personal income, you understand what is the disposable income. So, say for example, I'm making 1 lakh rupees. So, from that 1 lakh rupees, I pay 20,000 as tax. Whatever is left with me is 80,000. So, 80,000 would be considered as my disposable income. Moving on to a very important topic is how do we calculate national income. So there are three ways of calculating national income. One is the product method, second one is the income method, and the last one is expenditure method. Product method, income method, and expenditure method. Product method is also called as the inventory method, okay. Now this is nothing but when all goods and services, when you're adding the total of all goods and services produced in a country, that is your product method. So this method is also called as inventory method. According to this method, the aggregate production of final goods and services in an economy in any one year is evaluated in terms of money. So say for example, I'm considering the year 2020 and 2021. So whatever is the final goods and services produced in this year, I add all of it and I get the national income with the help of product method. Now there are many difficulties that this method might face, okay. What could be the difficulties? One is about the duplication of data. You must have already counted a product and you are recounting it, so that is called as double counting, so that could be a problem in this method, okay. Then if you do not have proper reliable data, then that also would create a problem in using the product method, okay. If the production is on a very large scale and you cannot count it properly, then again this method might face difficulties. So these are certain difficulties that this method might face. There are steps in using production method. What are those steps? Step number one is identifying the producing enterprise and classifying them into industrial sector according to their activities. So you identify which are the producing enterprises, whether it is primary sector, secondary sector, or tertiary sector, and according to that you take a note of all the production activities that it has done. Then you have to estimate the net value from each of these production activities. Third step, this is the second step, okay. Then in this step you have to take additions of all the primary sector, you have to take additions of all the secondary sector, and you have to take the additions of all the tertiary sector. I add all together and I get the national income using the product method. I hope that's clear. I also told you what would be the problems in this method. So the problems in this method are majorly that they face double counting problem. Then there is a problem of data, reliable data. If the data is not reliable, then we face problems. Okay, so these are the problems that we face. Okay. Next method that you have to understand is about the income method. Now income method is also called as the factor cost method. This is also a very simple method, okay. How is national income calculated with this method? You basically know that there are four factors of production that we have studied about: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur, right? So what are the payments that these factors of production are getting? The payments that these factors of production get are land gets rent, labor gets wages, capital gets interest, and an entrepreneur gets profit. So these are the four things that they get. When you add all of this, because they are the incomes, you add all of this, you will get the national income with the help of income method. Okay, so basically what you have to do here is you have to add all the incomes of the factors of production to help you get the national income. Now what are the difficulties that this method might face? Point 1 would be only income earned by owners of primary factors of production are included in national income. Transfer incomes are not included. I told you transfer incomes, I usually remember transfer incomes as free money. Okay, that means you're not doing any mehnat, you're not doing any work for it, you're just getting that money out of no economic activity that is happening. So that's why it is called as transfer income. So transfer income is not a part of national income. This is point number 1. Point number 2 is about it is very difficult to separate labor from it is difficult to separate labor income from capital income, because in many instances people provide both labor and capital services. Now for example, I would say that in order to overcome this difficulty, new category of income is called as mixed income, which includes all those income which are difficult to separate. Mixed income as in for example a businessman. Okay, if a businessman is working at his own office, okay, so he is getting profit. What about the wages? So how will you bifurcate wage and profit? Because he is doing the task of a labor also, and he is doing the task of a businessman also, so he is getting profit. Understood, profit is a part of national income. What about wages? So where is his considerations of wages? Okay, that's why sometimes this method faces those difficulties. Last is care has to be taken to see that transfer incomes do not get included in the national income. What are transfer incomes? I've already told you: pension allowances, then you are getting some illegal incomes, then you might get if the government is paying for unemployment allowances, then windfall gains, sudden gains, you get a lottery, so a lottery ticket is won by you, you're getting income. So that those all things are not to be included in the national income. So these are the two methods that you have to remember: product method and income method. The third method is expenditure method. Now what's expenditure method? Like the name suggests, you have to add all the expenditures like consumption, investments, plus government spendings, plus exports minus imports. Okay, that is net exports. So I'll repeat it. Income is equals to consumption plus investments plus government expenditure plus exim. The exim is nothing but exports minus imports. What's consumption? Consumption, I already mentioned in the previous recording also. Consumption means when you are spending your money on different types of goods and services, that would be considered as consumption. Okay, so consumers do consumption. Second is investments. Business people do investments, so they buy capital assets. Okay, they buy capital from this money, so that is they buy machinery, plant, building and all that. Those all are investments, so that's investments. G is government spending. Government also spends. Spends on various things, like government will spend on defense, government will spend on building roads, government will spend on education. Okay, all these things government is spending, so that will be G. And X minus M is exports minus imports. So exports is nothing but when you are buying goods, when you're selling goods to abroad, that would be exports, where you're getting money, okay, from different currencies. But when you are buying goods from different countries, that would be imports. So exports minus imports would be also a part of the income. Okay, that is also called as net exports. Obviously you will always try to be at a uh, you'll always see to it that your exports are greater than your imports, because you are selling here. Okay, you are getting different currencies. Buying is where your money is going out, that's imports. So when you add all of this, this is the expenditure method. Now what happens in this case? There are also problems here. One would be government services. Okay, so in calculating national income expenditure method, the problem of estimate government services arise. Governments provide a number of services such as police, military, administrative, legal, should experience government services be included in the national income. Now, when government is spending on defense service, now defense service, there is no productivity that is happening. That means there's no output uh, that is being generated in an economy. You are spending on the security of the nation. So should this be included in the national income? So that's a problem here. Transfer payments, again you have to be very careful that transfer payments are not to be included in the national income and expenditure method. Okay, durable use of consumer goods pose a problem, such as durable consumer goods like scooters, car, fan, furniture are bought once in a year, but they are used for number of years. So should they be included? So if I have a phone, okay, I've bought a phone. Now this phone is a second hand phone that I have bought. I bought it from somebody else, and so when this phone was manufactured, it was already counted in the national income. Since I've bought it, it's a new asset for me. Should it be again included in the national income? So that's a question again. So this problem is also faced in counting the national income. So expenditure method, these are several problems that you face when you count the national income. Okay, let's move on to the next point, that is difficulties in measuring national income. So what are the difficulties in measuring national income? There are various difficulties. Difficulty one is about the statistical difficulty. So you have to depend a lot on numbers. Okay, so and that too you have to rely on the numbers maybe collected by somebody else or something like that. So that would be a problem. Next is presence of non-monetized sector. Okay, non-monetized sector means what? The existence of large non-monetized sector in undeveloped countries also makes the computation complicated. It is well known and a good it's a quite substantial part for the agricultural output in the country that does not reach market at all. Which means what? Which means a farmer is producing 20 quintals of rice. So out of that 20 quintals of rice, maybe 1 quintal, example, he is keeping for his self use. So should that be included in national income? He is not declaring that I produced 20 quintals. He is just declaring that I produced 19. So what about that one? That also has to be included in the national income or no? So that becomes a difficulty. Okay, unorganized sector, there are a lot of small producers in the economy who do not declare how much output they have produced. So then again we cannot count the national income. Lack of reliable information, it is very difficult to rely on information because it is, you are depending on somebody else's collected data. So lack of reliable information also creates a problem of measuring national income. Rent receipts, now rent is also a money which is being generated for for a non-productive use. Okay, there is no actual production that is happening, but rent is being generated. Then should it be included in the national income? Next is about wages. Okay, so average wage in different professions varies widely in different parts of India. In unorganized sector like animal husbandry, such difficulties are more pronounced. In respect of unorganized enterprise, data regarding wages and other expenses must be included in the contributions of PF, pensions, LTAs, and so on. In this case of project undertaken by private and public enterprise, expenses on casual labor cannot be accurately determined. So sometimes it becomes very difficult on how much you're spending on your labors. Okay, so that should also be part of national income, but it becomes difficult to do the calculations of that, and that's how you face difficulties in measuring national income. Next is about interest earning. So if any interests are earned, then if it is not declared, then you cannot use it in national income. Smuggling, some illegal activities happening. Capital fight is nothing but it is calculating the net income from abroad. Some income, some lump sum money is coming from abroad. Double counting, when you're counting a same product twice, you've counted it in 2019 and 20 data also, now again you're counting in 20 and 21, so that's double counting. So these are certain difficulties that we face in counting national income. Let's move on to the last part, which is circular flow of income. Now this is a very important topic that you all have at the end of the chapter. What is the circular flow of income? Okay, in circular flow of income we majorly consider two sectors. Okay, so one sector is household, second sector is firm. Sometimes there is three sector circular flow, that in that three sector there will be government also. So it will be household, government and firms. Okay, but now we are studying the two sector in sector circular flow of income, that is household and firms. So what does household do? Household provide factors of production to the firms, right? So what are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital, enterprise. Firms in return, what will they give? They give rent, wages, interest and profit to the factors of production. Yes, so the households are earning all these factor payments. Now once these factor payments are earned, what will the households do? The households will use this income that is generated with the help of firms to buy different types of goods and services. Who is the producer of these different goods and services? The firms, right? So this is a circular flow of income where the income is generated with the help of firms and it is again spent on buying the goods and services of the firm. Okay, whatever money is spent, out of that whatever money is left, which is called as savings, is used in investment, in buying capital assets, in buying different type of assets. By whom? By the firm again, right? So this is a circular flow of income for two sectors. So in today's class, what did we see? We studied about national income. National income is the country's total income. We also studied about different aspects like GDP, GNP, NDP, NNP. Okay, I told you it is GDP. When you talk about GDP, it is gross domestic product. When you subtract depreciation from it, it becomes NDP, net domestic product. Domestic and national, GNP would be your gross national product. National product is where you are including the income from abroad also, and NNP would be the net national product. That means you're deducting depreciation from GNP. Okay, then there are various importances of national income. Then we studied the concepts of what is per capita income, disposable income, personal income, right? This all we studied. Then a very important topic that we studied was about how to measure national income. We can measure national income via three methods: product method, income method, expenditure method. It depends upon the country which method they want to adopt, whether they want to go for all the final output, whether they want to go for all the final income that the country is generating, or whether they want to add C plus I plus G plus exim. Okay, and then last but not the least, we spoke about what are the difficulties in measuring national income. Okay, and lastly we said about the circular flow of national income, how household and firms they play an important role in the circular flow of national income. So this is about national income. When we meet in the next class, we talk about a different topic, that is about the theory of employment and output. So we talk about full employment, we talk about output, we talk about the classical theories. Different theories are there about employment. So that is again an important topic wherein we study about Say's law, JB Say's law and all that. So thank you for attending the session.